In progress.
Again, hello, welcome. I'm Christiana Limniadis from Preservation, Maryland. We are here to talk about the Professional Services Assistance Program. This program is being recorded, so it will be made available on our website and to everyone who is registered tonight. I want to answer your questions, or if you are here with us live, so make sure to put those questions in the chat or the Q&A box, and we will save them all to the end of the program. Let's get going. Who we are Preservation Maryland. We are your statewide historic preservation nonprofit organization. We are here to provide advocacy, technical, or if possible, financial support to preservation projects here in the Old Line State. We cannot be everywhere. We cannot save every building. We can't preserve every building ourselves. So we need to make sure that you have the tools and resources you need to be in charge of your own preservation destiny. So we do all of this amazing work here in Maryland, but we also power the Campaign for Historic Trades, which is a national workforce development. We partner with the National Park Service quite a lot in this program, and we are working to expand access to traditional trades. We can be on our soapbox all day long talking about how and why we should keep and reuse these resources, but we can't do that if we don't have the individuals with the skills to do that work. So an incredibly important part of preservation work. All right, so our agenda today, we're going to go over the program summary, the nuts and bolts of what this program is and what it offers, the eligibility requirements. We'll walk through the application process, and then we will go and answer your questions at the end. Everything that we're going to talk about tonight, everything that's going to come out of my mouth and I'm going to tell you about this program is not secret or new information. Well, it's new information, but it's not secret information. It is all available online on that website that you see on the screen, preservationmaryland.org/assistance on Main Street. If you go to our website, there's our work, grant making, assistance on Main Street, multiple ways to get to it, but everything that we're going to talk about today is on that page. Access to the program guidelines, access to the application form, everything that you need is there. Okay, onward to program summary. Assistance on Main Street refers to our overall technical and funding support that we are creating specifically for our Main Streets and communities. And so tonight, our first kind of major program from our Assistance on Main Street offering is the Professional Services Assistance Program for fiscal year 25. This program will offer awards up to $2,500 to support costs associated with professional services for necessary architecture, preservation, or other specialized preservation professional services. The supported professional services will support exterior improvements or other critical upgrades that are necessary to return that currently vacant or maybe underutilized building into a more productive use. This overall program, again, we have around $35,000 available to give out in this round, is made possible by the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. They administer the Main Street Maryland program, and it's through their support that we're able to offer this funding. All right, so let's get a little bit more into the weeds on the eligibility requirements. To be eligible for this program, your project and property must meet all of these requirements. The property must be located in a Main Street, Maryland community. Let's take a pause and talk about that for a second, because just recently the state reorganized how they define their communities. When we were developing these things in the beginning of the month, there were 34 communities that were designated as Maryland Main Streets. But now they've kind of tweaked that and introduced a tier program. So any commercial property within the formal boundaries of any of these Main Street communities, independent of whatever tier they're on, if they're connected, aspiring, or designated, commercial properties within these Main Streets can all apply for this program. But the properties that are located within the designated and aspiring will take a slight priority to those in the connected Main Streets tier. The connected Main Street tier is the entry-level tier. Aspiring is that next up, and then the designated is that top tier that you can achieve in the Main Street program. So everyone in commercial properties that meet all of the other eligibility requirements and all of these communities are eligible to apply. There'll be a slight preference to the communities in those red blocked out areas. All right, so that is our big major eligibility requirement. It has to be in a Main Street, Maryland community. These properties that you're applying for, it must be a commercial property. It cannot be a single or multi-family home. Now, certainly many, if not most most commercial properties include a mix of commercial store kind of office use to it, but then also have, income producing rental units on upper floors. That's fine. Properties that have a mixed use to them are still eligible to apply. But commercial properties that are solely residential are not eligible for this program. Applicants for this program must be the property owner or the business owner that has a valid long-term lease with the property. Nonprofit property owners and lessees are also eligible to apply. Just keep in mind that the goal of the program is to create vibrant Main Street communities, to take underutilized buildings and get them back into productive use. So as long as all of those other markers are met, then nonprofit applicants are eligible to apply. Projects must be completed and closed out by January 30th, 2026. We are right now in the application process. The application will close and we'll go over the timeline in a second, but you'll have several months to be able to work with your consultant to do those professional services. And then all of that work and your project needs to be closed out with us by the end of January. All of the work that is completed, all of the consultants, the consultant that you will retain for this project, all of that work, all of those consultants need to meet the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of rehabilitation or this professional standards and qualifications. Let's just take a second to talk about what that means. We're not going to get into the weeds on this. This is not something that you need to know very, very in depth. You just need to understand that as part of this program, all of the work needs to meet these various national standards that are created that are then used in state and local levels of regulatory reviews. We are going to help you and coach you and make sure that your application meets the Secretary of the Interior standards, whether it's the treatment of the buildings, the plans that you're creating, making sure that they meet the standards once that work actually happens, making sure that the consultants that you hire meet the professional standards of our industry. We will help you through the application process to make sure that you meet those. So nothing to worry about now, but you just need to be aware that that is a requirement of the program. All right, so we've discussed who and what types of properties can apply for the program. So what does this program support? Again, it's awards up to $2,500 to support professional services. So what does professional services mean? It could mean hiring an architect to create the plans necessary to then hire your contractors, to then get your permits from your municipality, to get preservation district approval, having that architectural plans so that you can actually get going on that thing. That's a professional service that's eligible for this program. Hiring a preservation consultant to do the same exact type of work. Many preservation consultants are able to do that type of design work, or other types of preservation reporting that'll help you get that historic preservation district review on the local level, or if you're doing historic tax credits, helping you with the paperwork to get the historic tax credits for your property rehabilitation. That's eligible expenses. Maybe you have some structural issues with your property. So bringing that structural engineer to help you and provide those reports and scopes of work so that you can then hire the consultants and get the permitting that you need. There are lots of other technical specialists that many property owners have to use regularly. One that comes up often in commercial properties is, fire safety systems, hiring a fire safety specialist to come in and map out your fire suppression system and create those plans and guidelines so then your contractor can then do the work. You can get your permits. So any work that you need, the professional services, the papers, the reports, the plans, the soft cost things that you need to be able to actually get started on your rehabilitation project, that work is eligible for this program. Maybe you know that you need a certain type of professional service. You know that in the end goal you want to expand your outside, your front patio on the sidewalk, but you need to have plans done for that. You don't have your architect yet. You don't know what kind of architect to hire or preservation consultant to hire. That's fine. You can still totally apply for this program. We have available to you through the program guidelines linked to our preservation pool, which is a listing of kind of the usual suspects, the commonly used preservation consultants here in the state um, that are available for you. We can help you through your application process to find other consultants if these ones don't match your needs or are located in your area. So again, just because you might not have your architect or your engineer lined up and contract signed already, that's fine. You're still more than welcome to apply. We'll help you through that process. Again, keeping in mind, this does not support brick and mortar expenses or other hard costs. This is about getting you that report, that design, that plan, so you can put into motion the plans to do the brick and mortar project. Um, Excellent. So onwards to the awards. Again, as we've said, we have a total of $35,000 available to award in this round, and we're able to provide awards up to $2,500. So that is the max grant award that anyone will get is $2,500. It is vital to keep in mind that this is a reimbursement grant program. So you will be awarded your funding up to that $2,500, and then you will then go and secure that professional service. You'll hire that architect, get those designs done, complete that project with that architect, pay that person, and then you come to us and close out your grant project, and then we reimburse you that up to $2,500 for those professional services. So you will not be getting a prepaid check up front to pay for those. It is a reimbursement process, and then it is only a payment to you. You have paid the contractor, the consultant, and then we reimburse to you. We are not able to make direct payments to that consultant. That is not how in the program guidelines. Onward to the application process. Our application is online through a program called Smarter Select. It is linked on our website. Looking at the screen in front of you on the left-hand side, you'll see a screenshot of our Assistance on Main Street program. The first available assistance is our professional services assistance program. So you can see there program materials, application, program guidelines linked right there. When you click on the application link, it'll bring you to that Smarter Select website. It is a free website, but you will have to register and make an account that will be tied to your application so that you can submit that. It is a very straightforward application. We kind of pride ourselves here at Preservation Maryland, trying to create applications that are straightforward and easy to understand. We're not handing out millions of dollars. We're handing out reasonable amounts of monies to get projects completed. We want you to focus your time and energies on those projects, not on filling in 5,000 pages of grant paperwork. So again, if you have issues or questions, please let me know as you're filling out that application. Again, the URL right there, our website is right there at the bottom. That QR code works as well to bring you to our landing page for this program. When you go to the application form and you open it up in Smarter Select, make your account and get started. The application is divided into these 5 sections: application information, property information, project budget, and then attachments. Applicant information is just a series of checkboxes and fill in the blank questions for information about you, who is filling this in, that business owner, that property owner, that executive director, or whichever contact at a nonprofit organization, and then your business and organization information. So who is applying, all of that information there. Keep in mind that the answers that you put on there, especially as it relates to the contact person and their contact information, that email, that phone number, that mailing address is what we will use throughout the application process. So if that, please make sure to use phone numbers and emails that you are actually checking, because that is the only way that I'm going to be reaching out to you through this application process, is through the contact information that you put on that form. Property information, again, pretty straightforward. It's where you put in, clarify what main street you're located in, what's going on with your building, what are the professional services that you need, and just understanding what the building is and making sure that that's eligible. And then again, continuing with project information. What are those professional services? Who are you looking to hire? If you know who the person is, or what type of consultant are you looking to hire? So just all of the information about that, narrative, fill in the blank type questions. Project budget, again, just kind of explanation of what is the professional services, how much does it cost? If you don't get this grant award, how else will you make this project possible? Questions like that. And then attachments. We're going to ask for some representative photographs of the building that will be getting the professional services, just so we can use in our announcements and media releases. We'd like copies of any consultant quotes, estimates, proposals, anything for that professional services that you've already coordinated or got quotes for. We'd love to see what those things say. An actual project budget. You'll have a narrative question about the project budget in the application form, but then we actually want to see a budget document. If you are not the property owner, if you are a leasing that property, then we need a copy of your lease agreement to make sure that all of the terms of your lease make it possible for you to participate in this program. And then we will need a property owner letter of consent as well. Obviously, this is not supporting brick and mortar work, right? We're not paying to actually do anything on the building with this, but the goal is to help accomplish those professional services so that that brick and mortar project happens. So with this letter of consent, we want to make sure that the property owner knows that you're getting these design services done and that the goal is to get this property done, this project actually completed. So we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page so we can make sure that all the way down the line, we have an improved building that will last in our historic communities for even future generations. All right, so the program timeline, it's a nice quick kind of program here. It's again, not a heavy lift of an application, pretty straightforward. We are here today, August 13th, our virtual information session. The application form opened just a couple weeks ago at the end of July. We have 2 more virtual information sessions scheduled. They will not be formal programs like this right now. They're just going to be office hours, drop in, ask your questions, very, very unstructured. So you can ask specific questions about your eligibility and filling out the application form. And then that brings us to September 5th is the application deadline. The application form will close at 11:59 on Friday, September 5th. So get those applications in. We anticipate reviewing as quickly as possible and making announcements by the end of the month. And then again, if you are awarded that up to $2,500 as part of this program, all of that work, all of the closeout paperwork, everything needs to be done by January 30th of 2026. Yes. If in the event that during this round, we do not dispense the entirety of the available $35,000, then we will reopen the application and have it running on a rolling basis until that money is dispensed fully. So again, please make sure that you get your application in by September 5th, but in the event that there is remaining funds to disperse, we will reopen the application and make that available on a rolling basis. And then again, if you are selected and receive funding, you will have to submit that final report by January 30th. The paperwork in everyone's project is going to be slightly different. So depending on your project plans and final reports and professional services that you secured, your final report may look a little different, but generally what you'll be expected to provide is a completed final report form. It's another kind of application form with narrative questions about your project and things of that nature. We want a summary of the completed professional services and how it supports that needed exterior and other critical upgrades. We'll need proof of payment. Again, it's a reimbursement grant, so we need proof that you did pay that person. So that means copies of contracts or invoices, and then the corresponding proof that the payment was made. So that means, redacted, certainly copies of a bank statement highlighting that payment that's made, copies of credit card statements, copies of cash checks, like you get returned back to you in your statements, whatever that is to you in your banking. We just need to make sure that that money was actually paid out by you. And then we would need a copy of that professional services. So if you had an architect come in and draw designs for your new front door entryway, we'd like to have copies of those designs. If you had a consultant come in and do your historic tax credit application, we'd like to see a copy of that tax credit application. And that is the program. Very straightforward, very simple. We're just trying to get you some extra bucks in your pocket to help get these projects accomplished. I think I did see a question or two come through, so let's cut up those. The question we have right here is, our building is fully utilized but has external structural issues that need to be addressed. Are we eligible? Yes, certainly. While your building may be fully occupied, you may not, or fully utilized, the longevity, the timeline of being able to fully utilize that building is certainly compromised by having these exterior structural issues. So certainly an eligible expense. So I definitely encourage you to apply. That is the only question that we have right now. So I will leave this open for another minute or so if there's any other questions that come through. But otherwise, thank you so very much for joining us on this information session for the Professional Services Assistance Program. Again, we have 2 more office hours coming up later this month on Fridays. They're unstructured. Just drop in to ask your questions about your eligibility and your application form. Very easy breezy. Again, thank you so very much for joining us. I see no more questions, so we will close today's program. Have a great rest of your day.